The charade called Christianity. Hello, Damon, can you please share my testimony? I want to shed some light on this myth, fiction, or reality called Christianity. Just like everyone born into a Christian home, I too was born into one. Though I never saw my father go to church, from what I learned, my father was a Catholic until he just got tired of Christianity, no reason given. However, my mother never failed to continue to raise us into believing the Christian doctrine, living our lives in accordance with the Christian rules. And to an extent, it began to shape the way I was growing up. Positive? Yes, I was led to learn that there was a big divide between right and wrong. Negatively? Yes, because I felt all my problems will be answered by prayers and waiting on God. But the learning process I was trained by my mother and invariably, the church to live with regarding the aspects of right and wrong became extreme in my perception of how other people should and should not behave, how they should live and not live, and whom I am okay to associate with and not associate with. I grew up despising people who drink alcohol and smoking cigarettes because according to the Christian doctrine, they are sinners. I despise people who do not go to church because they were pagans and sinners. I despise people who go to clubs because they were the biggest sinners and fornicators. And the list goes on. Contradiction. Judge not so that ye may not be judged. I cannot remember if this is in the Bible, but I clearly remembered being taught in our children class, in church. When I finished secondary school, I fully understood, or so I thought, that for every problem, I needed to go to God in prayers. For me to get solutions, I needed to become closer to God. I needed to hear from Him. Did I ever hear from Him? Or was I busy, hearing voices in my head? My subconscious giving me options on certain issues. There is a concept called the phenomena of auditory verbal hallucinations. You can read it up. It basically emphasizes on the psychology of perception and inner voices often played by neuroscience. A voice in the head helps with relationships and helps maintain control mostly of your tenuous balance of stability. The voices often tell you what you want to hear. Was it really the voice of God? Or maybe I am wrong. But as I said earlier, my perspective. To completely seal my love for God and to place myself deeper into His presence so I could get all I ever wanted, I became practically born again. I never missed a revival program or any other program. I was a youth leader and a part of the church's prayer warriors. I preached, I prayed fervently, I fasted, I showed love, I did them all. But this was where it got interesting. As I basked in the growth of my Christendom, two things began happening simultaneously. First, life just kept getting harder, and secondly, I began to see more evidence and knowledge gained, or to put it plainly, science. And every hardcore Christian will definitely not believe in science but faith and miracles. I focused all my time trying to prove I'm worthy in the sight of God. I needed more of His glory wrapped around my spiritual life. I fasted and prayed more. I strived beyond all measures to be holy, for blessed are those who are holy, for they shall see God. I began to feel His presence at all times. I began to dream and get revelations in my dream. I began to be able to interpret dreams. Alas, I was getting closer to the throne of grace. Sometimes I had terrible nightmares that jolted me up on my bed at the dead of the night. Then I quickly get on my knees and did what I know how to do best, kabash. I prayed hard. I fought spiritual warfares, I wrestled with demons I saw in my dreams. Now, I don't know if dreams are real or, like some theories postulate, a succession of images, emotions, ideas, sensations, etc. that occurs during what is called a REM, rapid eye movement stage of sleep. There are also other theories that dreams are often caused by acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter in the human brain. I know nothing about this level of science, but what I do know and have confirmed is that dreams are triggered by our thoughts and emotions, our state of mind. I'll give you an example culled from a personal experience later on. As the years went by, I began to notice that they don't work: the prayers, the fasting, the all-nights, the revival programs, etc. They don't just work. My mother has been a dedicated Christian all her life. She prayed all the time, she taught in Sunday school, she preached, she fasted, she counseled people, she sowed a lot of seeds, She never missed her tithes and offerings, she gave to the poor, yada yada yada. But she has been praying for her husband, my father, to turn a new leaf, the leaf of him stopping his having a fling or babe, or side chick outside. She has been on this prayer for over 20 years. It doesn't work. I prayed for a job as I was almost getting lost in depression. I prayed for a breakthrough. Here I was, a graduate, intelligent, and smart, but no job. I was supposed to be a chosen one. A son of the Most High who didn't lack anything, a dedicated and holy Christian who was so devoted to God. But I lacked everything. The breakthrough never came. The miracle job never came. No company called me for an interview. No rich uncle miraculously remembered me. It doesn't work. My sister just gave birth. The baby hasn't been up to 72 hours on earth and is on the verge of dying. She prayed. We all prayed. We sowed seeds. But alas, the baby died. It doesn't work. My wife has been praying for all her life for God to restore her eyes so she doesn't have to keep putting on medicated glasses. We just got her a new set. It doesn't work. My best friend was depressed and was almost going insane. We prayed for him. We slept in church. Then it turned to aggression, or should I call it impulsive aggression. He started destroying things and almost killed his father. That was when we called it quits to prayers and took him to a mental hospital. He was treated and was on medication for over 1 year. Now he has recovered. The prayers didn't work. My brother is very sick from kidney failures. He was in a Bible summer camp for more than 3 weeks. Guess what? He was chased away so he won't die on their neck. Because as of then, he was on the verge of death. He went to a deliverance church and met with the apostles. They prayed and gave him holy water. But none of them worked. He is back home taking treatments, and he is still fighting for his life. He went to several big churches and small churches with prophets, anointed pastors, bishops, etc. Most of them chased him away so he won't die on their properties. It doesn't work. And the list is endless. I remember when I left my house and moved into the church. Maybe this will trigger the breakthrough. But after almost 2 years of living in the church, the breakthrough still never came. I was getting fed up, frustrated, and depressed. It was then that I gave up. I gave up trying to be a good Christian. I gave up trying to live a holy life. I gave up trying to fast and pray every time. I gave up on Christianity. But instead of think about ending my life because the frustration was something I couldn't bear, I decided to try the other side of life. I switched my subconscious to explore the other dimension of my perception of life and my general existence. I wouldn't really call it a rebirth. But I can confidently say when I began working with my instincts and my direct subconscious, I began seeing life from a different angle. I began noticing a lot of things I wouldn't naturally notice, or should I say, deliberately refuse to notice. For example, I realized that if I do not pay my tithe, nothing would happen to me. There are no cankerworms or devourers. If I do not fast and pray for something I need, I'll still get it if I work hard enough. If I do not pray in the middle of the night, no demons would come fighting me in the night. I also realized that the moment I stopped believing in witches and wizards, I stopped having bad dreams where I was usually chased about. I just stopped seeing cats and owls as tools of witches but as animals that prefer being active in the night. I stopped seeing lizards and cockroaches as monitoring tools of witches, and I stopped a whole lot of things. What a relief. It's all just a perception. Like magic. You only see what you choose to believe. I began studying and learning. Then, I learned that sleep paralysis is just a health problem. It doesn't mean you are being pressed by witches and wizards. I started making money. I started employing other people. This is me who believed if I didn't fast and pray or give tithes or sow loads of seeds, I will never make it. I just started doing the right things. I started working hard, applying wisdom, learning and applying the right strategies in my business, and success began flowing. Pastors do go to the hospitals. Why don't they pray to get well? Pastors do move around with guards. Why don't they pray for God's protection? Pastors have girlfriends and lovers. Pastors drive the best cars. Pastors have the best apartments. This begs the question: is Christianity for real? Or is it just a charade that has succeeded in outstripping and overshadowing our sense of reasoning and self-realization? The truth is, until you take the bold step to live your life outside the threats of Christianity, hell and devil, you may never see that it's just a bubble of charade and deception from the outside. But what do I know? I may be wrong. Thank you, Damon, for allowing me to share my thoughts and experiences. You are helping many people to rethink their lives. This person's testimony is not uncommon. Thank you for visiting the channel.